They're staring at you with wide eyes, whispering, "How did you know?" They're confused, unsettled, even a little afraid, because you're seeing through the masks, hearing the lies before they're spoken, feeling intentions before they're acted on. You're no longer blind to manipulation, no longer naïve to deception, no longer someone they can control. Every betrayal, every disappointment, every moment they thought they could take advantage of you has sharpened your senses, strengthened your instincts, and awakened a wisdom they never expected. And now you walk into rooms carrying a presence that unsettles them, not because you're dangerous, but because you're awake, aware, and untouchable. They're asking, "How did you know?" Bro, you're scaring them because you finally learned how to see, how to listen, and how to protect what's yours. The power of seeing through people before they even speak. There is a power in seeing through people before they even speak, a power that most will never understand, a power that makes the world around you uncomfortable because it reveals truths they'd rather hide. Life has a way of teaching you to pay attention to patterns, to notice the energy behind every word, to feel the intent behind every smile, every handshake, every "I've got your back" that hides a dagger. And when you start developing this awareness, people begin to wonder, how does this person know what we're thinking before we even say it? They stare, they whisper, they doubt themselves, but the reality is, they aren't the ones in control anymore. You are. They can try to manipulate situations, they can try to mislead, they can try to twist the story in their favor, but you've grown beyond the blind faith that once held you back. You've learned to trust your instincts, and instincts are not just feelings. They're the accumulation of experience, of observation, of life itself shaping your mind to detect truth. Every betrayal, every lie, every act of deceit you've endured has been a lesson, a subtle teacher training you to notice the cracks in the mask, to hear the hesitation in a voice that hides fear or shame, to feel the tension in the room before it even surfaces. And when you walk into a room with that kind of perception, you carry a weight, a presence, an authority that people can't ignore. It's not about being intimidating, it's about being aware. It's not about proving them wrong, it's about knowing for yourself. And the moment they realize that you can see through their games, that you can anticipate their moves, that you understand them more clearly than they understand themselves, a shift happens. They start questioning their own intentions. They start doubting the ease with which they thought they could influence you. And they become unsettled. They become anxious. They start asking themselves why this person sees what they cannot hide, why this person recognizes patterns they thought were invisible, why this person understands motives they believed were secret. And all the while, you're calm, you're composed, you're confident, because you know that this power isn't about them, it's about you. It's about the growth you've achieved, the lessons you've absorbed, the wisdom you've earned through trial, pain, and observation. You've reached a level where the chaos around you no longer confuses you, where deception no longer entangles you, where lies no longer have the power to sway your actions or distort your truth. And this is why people fear someone who sees clearly. They fear being exposed. They fear being outmaneuvered. They fear being understood. They are scared of accountability because when someone sees them for what they truly are, there is no hiding, no evasion, no escape. And yet, this power does not come naturally to everyone. It is cultivated, sharpened, and refined over time. It comes from paying attention to details that others dismiss, from listening to words that others ignore, from observing reactions that others overlook. It comes from staying awake when others are asleep, from thinking critically when others are distracted, from acting with discernment when others act impulsively. And every time you've had the courage to stand alone, to question motives, to confront the truth, to trust your instincts over appearances, you've strengthened this power. People may try to mimic it, they may try to challenge it, they may even attempt to undermine it, but they cannot replicate the combination of experience, intuition, and clarity that you carry. They can't fake it because it is forged through life itself. And this is why when they ask, "How did you know?" It's not because you have a secret, it's because you've paid attention, you've studied the patterns, You've read the signs. You've observed the inconsistencies. You've listened to the tone, watched the eyes, noticed the body language, and understood the intent. You are the culmination of every lesson, every mistake, every betrayal, every triumph, and every observation you've ever made. And when people realize this, they are unsettled, not because you've done something to them, but because you've simply learned to see. They are unsettled because your presence now carries truth, awareness, and clarity that they cannot control, cannot influence, cannot bend to their favor. And it is in this space of awareness that your true power emerges, not in aggression, not in dominance, but in the simple, undeniable fact that you know. You know when someone is pretending, you know when someone is lying, you know when someone is planning something against you, you know when someone is sincere. And once you reach that level of perception, your decisions become sharper, your life becomes cleaner, your path becomes clearer, and the energy around you begins to shift. People who once doubted, manipulated, or betrayed you start to respect, fear, or admire you, often all at once. But you don't need their approval. You don't need their understanding. You only need your awareness, your intuition, and your commitment to truth. Because the moment you allow yourself to be swayed by the ignorance or discomfort of others, you weaken the very power that has made you untouchable. And so you stand firm, you move forward, you watch, you listen, you understand, and you act with precision. You act with purpose. You act with the calm confidence of someone who has seen, who knows, who cannot be deceived. And in this space, the question, how did you know, becomes irrelevant. It no longer matters how others react, how they whisper, how they fear, how they try to manipulate or confuse. What matters is that you are awake, aware, and alive to the truth. And that is a level of power that cannot be taken from you, a level of clarity that cannot be clouded, a level of presence that cannot be ignored. You are no longer playing in the shadows of naivety or ignorance. You are operating in the light of awareness, in the strength of experience, in the discipline of observation, and in the wisdom of life itself. And the people who once underestimated you, who once tried to deceive you, who once thought you were unaware, they are now witnesses to your evolution. And yes, they may whisper, they may fear, they may ask, how did you know? But let them wonder, let them be unsettled, because you are no longer defined by their perception. You are defined by your own clarity, your own vision, your own power. And once you embrace this power fully, once you trust it completely, once you walk boldly in this awareness, nothing can surprise you, nothing can derail you, nothing can deceive you again. And that, my friend, is the power of seeing through people before they even speak. The unseen strength of quiet observation. There is a strength in quiet observation that most people will never recognize, a strength that does not announce itself with loud words or flashy gestures, but a strength that moves silently, steadily, and powerfully, shaping outcomes before anyone even realizes it. Too often, people rush to speak, rush to act, rush to prove themselves, and in their haste, they reveal more than they intend, exposing weaknesses they didn't even know existed. But the one who masters the art of observation sits back, watches, listens, and absorbs, understanding that patience is more powerful than impulsiveness, that knowledge gained in silence can become a weapon stronger than any argument, and that clarity comes not from noise, but from reflection. Quiet observation allows you to read between the lines of conversation, to detect the subtle shifts in energy that signal true intentions, to sense the tension that precedes action, and to anticipate outcomes before anyone else has even considered the possibility. When you develop this skill, you start to notice patterns that others dismiss, repetitions that others overlook, and motives that others disguise. You see the lies before they are spoken, the manipulation before it takes hold, and the weakness before it is exploited. And in that seeing, in that quiet awareness, lies power. People around you begin to sense that you notice more than you reveal, that you understand more than you share, and that you are moving on a level of awareness that makes them uneasy. They whisper, they speculate, they wonder, how does this person always seem to know? But it is not magic. It is not intuition alone. It is discipline, training your mind to pay attention to what others ignore, to hear what others dismiss, and to watch what others overlook. Every detail matters. Every gesture, every pause, every tone, every glance carries meaning. And when you know how to read these signs, when you understand how the pieces fit together, you gain an invisible authority that commands respect without ever demanding it. Quiet observation is not passive. It is active. It requires focus, patience, and a refusal to be distracted by trivialities. It requires the strength to resist reacting emotionally when provoked, the wisdom to stay calm when others lose control, and the courage to wait for the right moment to act rather than rushing to respond. And the world does not like quiet strength because it cannot predict it, it cannot manipulate it, and it cannot control it. People who depend on chaos to advance, people who rely on deception to protect themselves, people who survive on the ignorance of others feel threatened by someone who observes silently yet perceives everything. They fear exposure, they fear accountability, they fear the clarity that your awareness brings. And yet, quiet observation is not about instilling fear. It is about preserving power, maintaining focus, and protecting what matters most. It is about understanding that the greatest victories are often won before the first move is made, that knowledge is more valuable than force, and that foresight is more powerful than reaction. When you walk through life observing, watching, understanding, and absorbing, you develop a rhythm, a timing, and a precision that others cannot match. Your actions become deliberate, your decisions become strategic, and your presence becomes a silent warning that you are not to be underestimated. And the people around you, the ones who think they understand the game, begin to realize that the rules have changed. They start to question their own strategies, second-guess their own intentions, and wonder how someone can remain so calm while seeing so clearly. They begin to whisper, "How does this person always know?" And that is when you know your observation has become your armor. You no longer need to react to every provocation, no longer need to defend yourself against every attack, no longer need to chase after validation. You have learned that watching and understanding is a form of mastery that many never achieve, that patience is a strength few possess, and that awareness is a gift that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Quiet observation allows you to measure your energy, assess situations, and choose your battles with precision. It prevents you from being drawn into drama, from being distracted by lies, and from being manipulated by those who seek to control the narrative. It empowers you to act with intention, to respond with wisdom, and to navigate life with a sense of purpose that others envy but cannot replicate. And it is this invisible strength, this silent mastery, that makes you untouchable in the eyes of those who try to deceive, manipulate, or undermine you. They are unsettled because they cannot predict you, cannot sway you, cannot bend you to their will. They fear your calm because it exposes their chaos. They fear your patience because it outlasts their impulsiveness. They fear your awareness because it reveals their hidden agendas. And while they scramble, question, and whisper, you continue to observe, continue to learn, continue to grow stronger in silence, knowing that the true power is in control, in timing, in clarity, and in understanding before action. Quiet observation teaches you that sometimes the loudest victories are won without a single word, that sometimes the strongest influence is exerted without raising your voice, and that sometimes the most profound impact is made without announcing yourself. It shows you that by staying vigilant, by trusting your instincts, by paying attention to the subtle cues, and by refusing to react impulsively, you can maneuver through life with an advantage that cannot be contested. And in this, you also gain insight into human nature, the way people operate when they think no one is watching, the way intentions reveal themselves in small, often overlooked details, the way truth emerges quietly but unmistakably. When you grasp this, you see the world differently. You understand motives before they manifest, intentions before they are acted upon, and outcomes before they unfold. And this awareness shapes not only your actions but your character. It molds your patience, sharpens your discernment, strengthens your resolve, and owns your focus. People may ask, "How did you know?" But you smile quietly, knowing it is not about the question. It is about the preparation, the awareness, the discipline, and the choice to observe before acting. And once you embrace this skill fully, Once you trust the power of quiet observation, you become someone who cannot be manipulated, someone who cannot be deceived, someone who cannot be rushed or intimidated. You move with purpose, you act with precision, and you navigate the complexities of life with a clarity and calm that leaves others wondering how you always seem to know. And that, my friend, is the unseen strength of quiet observation, a power that is cultivated in silence, refined through patience, and exercised with wisdom, a power that makes you untouchable, respected, and unstoppable, long before anyone even realizes you are in the room. The fear you create by simply knowing. There is a subtle power in simply knowing, a force that moves silently yet shakes the foundation of those around you, a power that doesn't require aggression, argument, or proof, yet commands attention and respect because awareness itself is a weapon, and knowledge is a shield no one can penetrate. People fear what they cannot predict, and when you operate with clarity and perception, when you see the motives, the lies, the patterns, and the hidden agendas before they are even expressed, you become an enigma that unsettles the room. They whisper behind closed doors. They glance in your direction with unease. They try to gauge how you always seem to understand before anyone speaks, and that fear is not born of your words, but of your presence, of the quiet authority you carry simply by being aware. You've spent years developing this power, not through intimidation, not through displays of strength, but through life's lessons, through betrayal, through heartbreak, through the moments when people tried to take advantage of your kindness, your patience, your trust, and thought you were blind, thought you were weak, thought you could be controlled. But life has a way of teaching those who pay attention, a way of rewarding those who watch, a way of sharpening the mind and instincts of those who refuse to be fooled again. And now you move differently. Now you walk through situations and feel the currents of energy that most ignore, sense the intentions that most miss, recognize deception before it ever manifests. You see what others hide, you hear what others mask, you understand the patterns others take for granted, and in that understanding, you carry a power that is both quiet and undeniable. And the fear you create is not because you threaten physically, not because you attack verbally, not because you seek to dominate. It is because you see, you perceive, you understand. You have stepped into a level of awareness that most people cannot comprehend, a level where nothing escapes your notice, where no lie can go undetected, where no manipulation can succeed. And people fear what they cannot control. They fear what they cannot manipulate. They fear what they cannot predict. And when they realize you see through them, when they recognize that their games, their facades, their tricks, and their deceit no longer work, fear sets in. And that fear manifests in confusion, in whispered questions, in sideways glances, in the nervous energy that fills a room when someone knows more than you think they know. And it is not arrogance that fuels this awareness. It is experience. It is life itself. It is the quiet lessons learned through pain, struggle, and perseverance. Every time someone tried to deceive you, every time someone tried to take advantage of your trust, every time someone thought they could manipulate your emotions, you learned. You absorbed the cues, you noticed the patterns, you studied the intentions, and you sharpened your instincts. And the result is this presence that unsettles others because it is impossible to fake, impossible to mimic, impossible to intimidate, and impossible to undermine. And when people ask, "How did you know?" or try to explain your perception, you smile quietly because it is not about them. It is about you. It is about the years of observation, the lessons carved by experience, the wisdom accumulated through both triumph and adversity, the ability to read between the lines, to feel the weight of truth in every action, to notice the subtleties that reveal the reality behind the illusion. And this fear you create is not something to apologize for. It is a natural response to someone who refuses to be blind, who refuses to be naive, who refuses to be manipulated. It is a reflection of your growth, your discernment, and your refusal to settle for surface-level understanding. And while some may misinterpret it as intimidation, as threat, or as arrogance, the truth is, it is simply knowledge applied with calm, precise, and unwavering clarity. And when you recognize the impact of this awareness, When you see how people react to your insight, it becomes clear that true power does not lie in loudness, in aggression, in control. It lies in perception, in the ability to understand, to anticipate, to move with intention, and to act from a position of complete awareness. And the fear is a testament to your evolution. It is a sign that you have outgrown the level of understanding most people operate at, that you are now walking a path few can follow, that you are untouchable because you see beyond what is presented, because you understand the motives hidden beneath the surface, and because you have mastered the discipline to act only when necessary. And in this space, you become a force that cannot be derailed, deceived, or distracted, because your foundation is built not on reaction, but on understanding, not on impulse, but on observation, not on fear, but on wisdom. And as others tremble in uncertainty, as they question your ability, as they whisper, "How did you know?" you continue to move with composure, because you know the truth. The fear is theirs, the uncertainty is theirs, the realization that they are exposed is theirs, and it is a reflection of your clarity, your growth, and your refusal to remain blind. And every encounter, every challenge, every test of patience becomes a platform to demonstrate that your awareness is a shield no one can penetrate, a power that requires no words, no force, no assertion, only the quiet knowledge that you see and understand far beyond what anyone expects. And it is in this quiet knowledge that you gain control over your life, over situations, over outcomes, and over the influence others attempt to wield over you. And while people may try to intimidate you, distract you, or deceive you, they ultimately fail because your awareness is rooted in experience, sharpened by observation, refined by patience, and strengthened by understanding. And in recognizing this, you step fully into the realization that fear is not something you need to instill. It is something that naturally arises in the presence of truth, clarity, and awareness, and that those who feel threatened by your perception are simply encountering the power of someone who refuses to be fooled. And so you move forward, not with arrogance, not with malice, but with the quiet confidence of someone who has earned the right to see, to understand, and to act with precision. You are no longer reactive, you are intentional. You are no longer narrow, you are vigilant. You are no longer a participant in the chaos others create. You are an observer, a strategist, a force guided by knowledge and discernment. And in this space, the fear you create is a reflection of your evolution, a marker of your clarity, and a confirmation that you are operating on a level few will ever achieve, a level where your presence alone shifts dynamics, commands respect, and instills the natural consequence of awareness, the fear of being seen clearly, understood completely, and anticipated before action is taken. And when the whispers come, when the sideways glances are exchanged, when the question, "How did you know?" arises, it is a reminder that your journey through awareness has not gone unnoticed, that your growth has consequences for those who once underestimated you, and that your presence, your perception, and your understanding are now forces that cannot be ignored. And that, my friend, is the power, the authority, and the quiet, undeniable fear that comes from simply knowing. Knowing more, seeing further, understanding deeper, and moving with the precision of someone who has mastered the art of awareness in a world that often prefers ignorance and illusion. When awareness becomes your superpower, there is a moment in life when awareness shifts from being a skill to becoming your superpower, a force so potent that it alters the way the world reacts to you, the way people interact with you, and the way opportunities present themselves to you. It is quiet, it is subtle, and yet it is undeniable, because when you operate with awareness, you no longer stumble blindly through life. You move with precision, with insight, with a clarity that makes the ordinary extraordinary. Awareness is not simply about noticing things. It is about understanding the deeper currents beneath every conversation, every action, every silence, and every glance. It is about reading the room before anyone speaks, recognizing intentions before they are revealed, and anticipating moves before they are made. It is a power built over time, forged in the fires of experience, honed through trial, and sharpened by the wisdom gained from every encounter, every betrayal, every triumph, and every failure. When awareness becomes your superpower, you begin to see the hidden motives of people, the unspoken agendas, the subtle manipulations that most fail to recognize. You see the cracks in their masks, the tension behind their smiles, the hesitation behind their words, and the truth behind their intentions. And when people realize that you perceive what they cannot hide, they become uneasy. They whisper, they question, they wonder, how does this person know? And it is not because you are psychic or that you hold some mysterious advantage. It is because you have trained yourself to notice, to interpret, and to understand what others overlook. Awareness becomes a shield that protects you from deception, a compass that guides your decisions, and a sword that allows you to cut through the fog of confusion that clouds so many lives. It empowers you to choose your battles wisely, to protect your peace fiercely, and to walk away from situations that do not serve your higher purpose. It is a superpower because it grants you control in a world that thrives on chaos, clarity in a world that trades in confusion, and strength in a world that often rewards manipulation. And with this power comes a responsibility to use it not for ego, not for revenge, not for harm, but for discernment, for protection, for strategic movement, and for maintaining alignment with your vision and purpose. People may fear your awareness because it exposes them, it reveals their weaknesses, and it confronts their lies. They may try to challenge it, test it, or undermine it, but awareness cannot be diminished by their ignorance, cannot be clouded by their deception, and cannot be shaken by their attempts at control. When you move with awareness, you anticipate outcomes, you predict consequences, you navigate obstacles, and you operate from a position of clarity that others envy but cannot replicate. And the beauty of it is that you do not need to announce it, you do not need to prove it, and you do not need to justify it. Your awareness speaks for itself in your actions, in your calm confidence, in the way you respond, in the way you remain unshaken while the world around you panics. Awareness allows you to recognize opportunities that others miss, to avoid traps that others fall into, and to build connections with those who operate on truth and integrity while quietly sidestepping those who do not. It is a superpower because it transforms ordinary decisions into strategic victories, ordinary encounters into lessons in human nature, and ordinary challenges into opportunities for growth and elevation. And as people witness your awareness in action, they are often unsettled, intimidated, or inspired, because it is a form of mastery that most never achieve. They see your ability to process, understand, and act with precision, and begin to realize that you are not to be underestimated, manipulated, or controlled. And while they whisper, "How did you know?" you continue to operate with focus, patience, and clarity, knowing that your power is rooted not in intimidation but in understanding. Awareness allows you to set boundaries that are unbreachable, to recognize deception before it takes root, to maintain peace amidst chaos, and to preserve your energy for what truly matters. It makes you strategic, intentional, and deliberate in every action, in every word, and in every decision. And it is this superpower that elevates you above the ordinary, that gives you